Abdul Mateen has tried several times to leave Brunei to pursue his own dreams. His father had his bank account frozen so that he could not leave. Everything he did was monitored and reported to the king. A locator is installed on his mobile phone and his telephone calls are tapped. In mid-May 2025, he left Brunei to travel to Europe. There were many difficulties along the way. His plane was grounded in Brunei, so he traveled on to Malaysia, but there too, the flight was suspended for several days. He traveled on to Singapore and from there managed to get to Iceland. There he hired 2 bodyguards who accompanied him to Berlin. In Berlin, he contacted his father and his manager and asked him to send him money so that he could pay the bodyguards. He also didn't have enough money to afford a hotel, so instead he was allowed to stay in a laboratory. His father promised to send him the money, but in order to complete the transaction, he first had to deposit approximately USD 3,000. After he finally completed the payment, the money was frozen. The bank said it would be another month before he could withdraw the money. But to this day, the money has still not been released. After many attempts to obtain money and encountering difficulties, he returned to Brunei. When he arrived there, he noticed that much had changed. Many palace employees had been replaced, including the royal manager, who was responsible for the membership card. It also looked as if the king had stripped his crown prince of his title and bestowed it upon his older brother. The king only wants someone who will obey him as his successor. But he didn't care. As long as he could solve his problems and pay off his debts, that was fine with him. Unfortunately, he still hasn't received any money and his bank account remains frozen. On 19th September 2025, he wrote to the Brunei head chief stating that he wished to divorce his wife, Anissa Isa Kalebik Rosner, as he had become aware of her intentions and those of her family. To his horror, he discovers when visiting his company that part of his gold mining machine has been stolen in his absence. None of his employees informed him of this. The machine is worth 10 million, and without this part, it no longer works. It looked as if someone had gained access to his company in his absence. A normal employee would not be capable of such a thing. It must have been someone who had sufficient power and prestige in the country. He spent several days investigating and found out who had stolen the machine. After the prince found out who had stolen the machine, he waited for further evidence. He also spoke to the new royal manager and asked him to activate his personal assistant's membership card. He explained that she had paid almost a year ago, but had never received the card. The royal manager was very sorry about this and promised to get the card ready for him. On 1st October 2025, he called the royal manager to ask whether the card was ready. He said that the card was ready for collection. When Prince Abdul Mateen went to collect the membership card, he discovered that the royal manager had disappeared and been kidnapped. His access to his own company was also blocked. He alerted the police, but instead of investigating the case, the police accused him of organizing and planning the kidnapping of the royal manager. They argued for a long time, but the police did not back down and arrested him. On 2nd October 2025, he was placed in solitary confinement, where he was unable to contact anyone. Strangely, no one brought him food or drink. They also took his phone away. He is suffering and calling for help. If you do not stop tormenting the prince and trying to bring him to his knees by any means necessary, I will report this to the UN Human Rights Council or other human rights organizations such as the ICC. And I will publish more true stories and no longer show any consideration.